Hello, dear starshines. Christina here with Lightbody Academy and Rise of the Multidimensional Human. Welcome to today's lunchtime chats. For those of you who are new to the chats, these conversations are for visionaries, way showers, star seeds that are on that path of discovering their multidimensional aspects of who they are and their sovereignty on those levels. And as people who perceive things differently and experience things differently as a normal human, we have very unique things that come into our awareness that present challenges to us in our lives. And those are the kinds of topics and issues we are here to talk about today. My name is Christina. I am the acceleration expert, and I do my best to provide a liberated perspective to these issues and challenges. So welcome, 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 everybody. I'm going to go ahead and just pause for a moment and take a sip of I'm drinking coffee today, and take a sip of my coffee while the crew comes and joins us. Hello, hello, dear sister Tony. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this particular broadcast is live streamed in two places: in the Rise of the Multidimensional Human Facebook group, where the conversations within that group is how we develop these topics. And then it's also live streamed on YouTube. So because what happens is that a lot of times there are topics and issues that I go over in a very unique way, or in a way that really speaks to people, and they want to share that message with their friends. So if you find yourself in that boat where you really enjoyed or got a lot of out of what we talked about, and you want to share it with your friends, do know that you can share the YouTube version of this conversation with anybody who has access to YouTube. Now, our group on the Rise of the Multidimensional Human Facebook group is a private group, and you have to ask to be allowed in. And you are absolutely welcome to join the conversation, but I do ask, if you are going to do that, or you need to know that if you are going to do that, you need to answer all of our entry questions before you're allowed admittance. So just because, you clicked on the join button doesn't mean you're going to get in. We want people who are going to let us get to know them and who really want to get to know others within the group. So it's truly a community. It's not just a bunch of anonymous, pictures of people with some words on the screen. We all have a sense that each and every individual within our group is a human being, is a person that we have a connection with, and because we hold space like that for our group, that's what makes it so special, in my opinion. So welcome, welcome, everybody. Hello, darling Tasha and Laurel and Hodai. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It took me a minute to settle on the topics for today, so I didn't really get the last two out until just a few hours ago. But the first one, they all kind of stem off of the first issue. So, need to take a breath still. Yes, so for those of you who really resonate with the kinds of things that I'm talking about within this group, do know that the Lightbody Academy offers online programs with interactions with live people, right? Programs to help you gain more empowerment and sovereignty in your daily walk. The first level, the way to join us is to start with something called the Dreamtime Healing Project. Which is all about reclaiming your dream time, reclaiming who you are beyond the levels of who you think you are, and start getting to know that infinite level of yourself that is the actual person that's in charge of what's going on in your world, versus the identifying with the ego driver. See, what happens, a lot of us end up not knowing at all who we are because we quite literally limit ourselves to, we only can be who we think we are or who other people think we are, when really we're an infinite being in a biosuit, and there's so much more available to us. And in that journey, we discover who we really are, and expand the definition, those kinds of things that define us, that even those things that maybe that once limited us. So the Dreamtime Healing Project is really great way to get started on unraveling those kinds of limitations and stepping into the infinite you. So I encourage you guys to check that out, lightbodyacademy.com. All right, let me go ahead and announce the topics that we're talking about today. They're pretty controversial and very, very triggering for several people. I've had a few conversations with folks in our community, in the larger community, but also in our more intimate circles. And this is something that really triggers people. So let me go ahead and get on to it. So the topics for today, the mystical uses of nanotech and projected realities. Okay, so where this conversation started is in a video that was shared within the Rise of the Multidimensional Human group by a dear sister who is very active in our group, a really, let's say a core member of our community. And the following topics are all to back up solutions. They're all solutions to back up to the actual issue that's going on. But I want to show you guys, because so many times I mention a video and I don't remember the name, right? So I want to show you guys the video that I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, this video is called A Solution They Do Not Want You to Know. Okay, now this video was released in the summer of 2019. So everything that they're talking was before all of the different conversations like this were labeled conspiracy theories and, well, other kind of discreditable type of information. So I encourage you guys to check out that video if you haven't already. And I want to talk about what they're talking about in this video. Okay, there are a lot of different components that come together, figuratively and literally, that create the bigger picture. And bottom line is, nanotech is here, AI is here, AI is here, and it's highly sophisticated, and it really has some people freaked out because it's being used in very malicious, manipulative ways in the human reality right now. So I'm going to go deeper into that, the good, the bad, the ugly, because believe me, there is actually good. It's not all ugly. So I want to give you guys some really actionable things that you could be doing to make it so you're not so you don't feel vulnerable, or this is yet another straw on the back of driving us into feeling hopeless. So I'm going to go over 3 things that you could be doing to get a grip. So you can get a grip of these projected realities and have them not affect you as much. And then I'm also going to go into the big secret to encrypting your DNA. Yes, your DNA can be encrypted, so other beings, human or not, cannot mess with it. That is that's absolutely a thing. And I want to reveal to you guys the biggest secret to doing that. It's way more simple than you realize. So welcome everybody. Hello, dear sister Carol and Joanne. Hello, dear Facebook user. Dear Facebook user, if you'd like me to be able to see your name in the broadcast stream that you're in the description above it, if you click on the See More button, you'll be able to get to the bottom of the description there, and there's a link for StreamYard to get permission to show me your name. So that's completely up to you if you decide to do that. Don't worry about it's not going to steal any of your information, no more than Facebook. No, actually, it's Facebook that's stealing your information, but StreamYard is pretty benign. They just want permission to be able to see the name before they allow me to see it. So just so you know, that's why I'm saying Facebook user. I'd love to acknowledge everybody individually, because as I said earlier, our community is a real community. We have actual connections that are true to us and that actually have a meaning for us. It's not just random people that we're spouting things out at. In conversations. So thank you everybody for being here, and thank you for everybody for helping making this such a great community. So let's dive in. So nanotech. Let's start with the magical use of images and iconography. Okay, so iconography, what is that? That is when you have icons that have a certain meaning. Okay, so you guys know that I draw graphics very often in these chats, and when I draw certain graphics, they associate with a certain meaning. So for one that I draw very often, all right, is this one right here. My triangle's a little off, but you guys get it. You get right. And there's a lot of details that get filled into this graphic. Lots and lots of details. There's I can talk for hours just explaining the different dynamics that this graphic implies, right? And it's possible to, once someone has been exposed to all that information anywhere within their soul's journey, right? Anywhere within the soul's journey, because it's all recorded in the Akasha, I can show you an icon that represents these ideas and information. And that is exactly what our logo is all about, right? oops, it's only 3. So this icon, this becomes an icon right here because it represents, it's a very simple image, but it represents a deeply dynamic thought and idea, okay, and relationship to reality. Now, iconography comes in many, many forms. So we have another form of iconography, which is this, yeah? This transcends many religions and cultures, and this is like for humans anyway, this is the universal representation of Earth and or being in the center. Okay, then we have another icon, and that's this right here. This icon universally indicates the sun. Okay, so icons, when I'm talking about icons, I often interchange the word icons with glyphs. Okay, so when you start getting into like Egyptian hieroglyphs and stuff like this, those glyphs, though they're being called glyphs and there's like a particular kind of understanding that comes with certain pieces, it's the same kind of idea. So when you are opening up on your computer and you open up your desktop and you have all those symbols there, some of those symbols are really well recognized, ingrained icons. So as soon as you look at it, it associates something. And because it's, newer technology, it's something that you learned over time in this particular lifetime. Some of our iconography goes beyond time and space and is like a universal truth where it's been so within our soul's journey for a long time. Okay, so forever long your soul's journey's been, however you sense that to be, right? There's certain glyphs / icons that are consistent through that journey. So they become encoded at that point, because even though you don't have a conscious recollection of different lifetimes in your soul's journey, that icon has a subconscious resonance and it will connect you with the programming / understanding of that what that icon is associated with. So you'll be informed by the icon and resonating with it without having a mental connection to it, but yet the energy of it is resonating within you, and therefore it's influencing your understanding and your reality. Okay, so this is a very important thing to keep in mind when I'm talking about this use of nanotechnology and projected realities. Everything about the human experience is encoded in many, many ways and shapes and forms. For example, I'm going to keep going here because there's one more that I want to show you guys. The other one I want to show you guys is this, right? Now, to a Christian, this is the sign of Christ. To an alchemist, it means something else. To someone who's awoke out of the God matrix, it means something entirely different, right? So this is an icon. This is a glyph / icon that carries with it a vibration, a resonance. And every time you look at it, it is triggering this within the subconscious. Now, what the Christians did is they took an avatar like Christ and they put him dead on this cross, okay? Christ was an awakened being, the story of an awakened being, an avatar, if you will, and performed miracles and, did a lot of things to help humanity out, right? To reach out and teach humanity again, or lift them up to other potentials of who they truly are. But then the Christians came along, crucified him. Well, all right, arguably the Jews, but whatever. That's just another story of separation. Crucified him, and now a lot of the iconography in the Christian church becomes him hanging dead on this. So really what that ends up doing, tying in the story of his crucifixion and death, right? Tying that in, it's actually the symbol without you recognizing it, because there's lies on top of the story, that this is, every time you look at it, if you believe those stories, you're looking at your own consciousness getting crucified. Okay? Your own divine consciousness becoming crucified, shut down. What's your divine consciousness? And you guys know I don't like the word divine, but that's the English word I have to describe your benevolent infinite self. Okay, So iconography slash glyphs is really, really potent, because when you get exposed to it over and over again with different stories, whether the story is the truth or not, it's programming you. It's subliminal, subconscious programming going on over and over and over again. And when it's a truth, you don't need to experience it very many times. It's here and there, and it triggers a truth that's the truth for you on many, many levels, versus when it's a lie, that lie and that image has to be presented to you over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? Then that's when the programming, it sets in. You guys got me with that? That resonance. So now every time you look at that shape, it's reinforcing the programming that's resonating with that shape. Okay, you guys let me know if what I'm saying is working. So the same thing happens with logos, with mascots, not the word, but representations. So you have like the bald eagle having a representation of something. You have the condors representing something in mythology. You have owls that represent something. Okay, all of these pieces are encodements. They're programming and or truths that stick around, that can never go out of your experience, and they remind you of something on a subconscious level until it becomes conscious, of course. So that resonance factor is the piece, the fact that it resonates with a certain thing. Now, in certain spiritual circles that I'm in, there's been a conversation about the bald eagle getting hijacked. The actual truth of what the eagle represented as a liberated infinite being in a biosuit has been hijacked into an image, to an idea that's very aggressive and violent. And you guys, if you see a lot of the ways the bald eagle is depicted in patriotic imagery of the United States, you'll see what I mean. Because usually the claws are out, it's coming in to get you, like this. But that's not the true vibration of what the original frequency of eagle is. When you go into more indigenous understandings, eagle flies wingtip to wingtip with the great spirit, with the great mystery, the actual infinite self of who you are, and it's very peaceful and serene. So there's things like this that's going on. Now, resonance gets hijacked all the time, and this is really how the powers that be are able to trick people into colluding with their own disempowerment, is because it'll take a resonant that is the truth for you on many levels, and then piggyback things on top of it that aren't the truth for you on all those levels. So then we start feeling confused or lost, and start looking for answers outside of ourselves because we aren't clear inside. So resonance can be used to awaken and heal people, and can be used to do the exact opposite. The techniques are the same. The difference is the intent. Okay? People who've studied energy medicine, especially advanced techniques of energy medicine, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The same techniques that you use to bring healing and unification and peace to a being, to a person, or whatever, are the exact same tools that you use to do the opposite, to cause harm. I know that's a scary prospect for a lot of people, and this is why a lot of teachers, are very selective about who they teach their energy medicine techniques to, because if the intent gets skewed, then that person, you can be teaching someone really powerful tools to harm others. Okay, so the good part of the resonance is the way a lot of our ancient understandings have come from. For example, you have sand paintings. Sand paintings are a healing tool that are used by different indigenous cultures, especially in the Central America, like the Wichita, and I believe the Dna of the Hopi tribes, they also use the sand paintings as well, and so do other tribes throughout the South America. And what they do is, when there is a person coming in for healing, a person or a family, a unit like this coming in for healing, they will create a picture, a painting, let's say, of an image with different objects on the ground that depict the family or the person in such precise resonance, okay, that once it really, once they have the resonance built up to a certain point, it becomes no longer making that painting to look or to match the resonance of that family or that person. And instead, what happens, you start doing the healing and the energy work within that sand painting. And because of that resonance connection, it'll start healing the family, or it'll start bringing healing to that person. Okay, so when things are a resonance match, it's really significant. There's other ideas about how to use resonance and tracking, and you can do this with strangers in the airport or wherever. And that is, if you see someone and you want to find out more about them, you don't actually have to talk to them. It's very, very easy to track them. Okay, and it's not a violation unless you're going in with ill intent. If you're just exploring your surroundings, it's a whole different story. So you can, like when you're sitting with somebody and you want to match their resonance and you're not sure how, you would start off by positioning your body to be the same as theirs, right? You would start, perhaps if you can tune into that, match their breathing pattern, match the way they hold themselves. And when you do that, if you're really a sensitive person, especially like an empath, when you do that and match their resonance, now all of a sudden you're going to see and get all these more data sets with them, because now you're in a matching resonance with them. Now, there's a lot of people that use those kinds of techniques to manipulate people. And there's other kinds of people that use those kind of techniques to help them feel relaxed and calm and safe so they can have a true connection with that person. You see, exact same technique, just used with different intent. There's more. Hold on. You guys also know about voodoo dolls. Now, what Hollywood has taught us about voodoo dolls, that it's evil voodoo, right? But that's not the original use of the voodoo doll. The voodoo doll was originally used as a healing tool. You see, and it's only in Hollywood, and it's all this other twisted distortions of those teachings, did the mass public become aware of it as a tool to create curses and cause harm to others. Okay, but the voodoo doll works because it's something that was replicated to be a resonance match to the person it's supposed to impact. Okay, that's the big piece there. It was replicated to be a frequency match, so it'll resonate with the person that it's meant to impact. Okay? So there's good use and there's bad use. And now we're going to start getting into some of the ugly. All right. And let me pause real quick and say hello to Carol and Sherry. Hello, dear Joanne says, thinking of the reversals and inversions of images, logos, numbers, etc. for purposes of control. Yes. This is exactly what I'm diving into, darling. Dear Soul Schooling, hello, darling, says wholeness, much love, just jumping in, awesome. Yes, Carol's on board. She's saying this makes sense. Inversion and reversals. Good topics. All right, topics, question mark. Yep, so we're in it. So let me get back to where the beat I was on there with the resonance match thing. Okay. So I'm just going to recap a little bit about that video that I showed earlier. That here, I'll show it to you guys one more time in case you missed it live, so you can catch the name of it, and watch it for yourself if you haven't watched it. The most interesting part of this video was the interview that she did with the gentleman that was a part of that team, and engineers and scientists and stuff like this. And his voice had a resonance to it, and it's going to be shocking what he says. And not shocking because of the nanotechnology part of it, but shocking when he describes the symptoms of the people who've been taken out by that technology. That's the part that's probably going to be most shocking, because just wait. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's definitely an eye opener. So one of the things that they're talking about is that because of the different spraying that happens in the sky, and you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm trying not to say the actual word, but You know, spraying in the sky, the crisscross patterns, and the different weather machines and stuff like this that impact the ionosphere. That she is talking about there's an additional agenda unfolding. It's more than just influencing the weather and potentially influencing the climate change. It also has a purpose of dispersing nanite particles. And once the nanite particles come in contact with the body through the mucous membranes and whatnot, once it becomes in contact with your digestive tract, then then the natural acids of your stomach, the acids are now you guys, this is chemistry talk, and I'm sorry about this, but I just have to go over this. You guys need to understand that you have volatile chemicals, and those chemicals, they're called volatile because once they come in contact with something, there's big movement that happens. There's a big reaction. And that big movement, think of it as energy that bursts, that gives something a boost. Okay? So in our case, when our stomach acids are happening, it's the chemical reaction is to break down stuff, and the stomach is moving to emulsify stuff, right? But what they're suggesting is that this technology gets into your digestive tract, and that chemical, the energy from the chemical reaction, it uses to construct, to bring those different particles together to construct something that they're calling a microscopic robot. Let's call it like that. Nanotechnology. Nanotechnology has been around for a while, and there's a lot of actually holistic products that use nanotechnology, but it's not a technology as in a technical intelligence, as you know, like a robot or something. It's just they call it nanotechnology because the elements within the product are refined so small that it's down to its smallest nano component. So that's why they call that nanotechnology. But what this is implying, this is talking about the kinds of things that where there's an invasive quality, and these nanites come together to create things that behave like, say, like bugs, stuff like this. I'm not trying to make your skin crawl. Like I said, I'm going to give you guys solutions to all this. It's just, and in this video, they talk about dietary solutions you can do, which, you know, you can try that. I find that for me personally, having to take something multiple times a day, every day, doesn't work for me. You know, I rarely am ever able to take something on a daily basis. You know, I mean, I've been like that ever since I was a kid. I think it's my ADD or something. It's like I can never go on the pill. Nope, never gonna happen. You know, when I was young, I would get medications, and I would last a few days on the medications. I really couldn't keep it straight. You know, to keep doing it. And that's just something that's in me for whatever reason. So I figure out ways to get what I need for my body that doesn't require that kind of regimen. Okay. So if regimens work for you, you may really appreciate those solutions in the video. But what I'm offering you guys is something different, because you don't need anything external than from what's inside of you to create an environment where you are immune to these kinds of intrusions. And the one I want to touch on first is the intrusion of sympathetic resonance being used against you. Okay, so let me step back for a minute and go back to the axis. Now, the chats, I've changed the format of the chat so I don't do the 9D activations like I was doing before, but I am going to draw it out now just to do a real quick activation of it. And if you want to find out more about the model that I'm drawing out here, I encourage you to check out Barbara Hand-Cloud 2012. She is the pioneer. She's the one who brought this forward from another aspect of herself that has a simultaneous reincarnation in the please. She is a prolific author on many topics, but this in particular was really groundbreaking for me, and it activated an entire generation of healers and light workers. So here's our axis of intent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, So this is the axis. The first dimension, which is the core of the earth, this is your yes for being here. This is the dream of the mother. And what's really important about connecting with this aspect of who you are is that by resonating with this lens, you are resonating with your yes to participate within the dream of the mother, the realm of the Pachamama. Okay? So many of us have some soul journey mythology that we don't belong here, or things like this. And these are all incepted stories to disconnect you into why you came here in the first place. Like there's stories of like the Alpha Centaurians coming in as a slave race, different kinds of conquered Pleiadian and Lyrans and stuff like this, all coming here as to be enslaved. A lot of people are experiencing this reality as a slave reality. Okay, that's because their core land, their core connection to the Pachamama has been incepted with stories other than what their infinite nature intended. You're here because your infinite nature brought you here. That's the part of you that has no beginning and no end. That's the part of you that can never be created and can never be ended. Okay, your infinite self brought you here. It's quantum here to have an individuation within the realm of the mother for a reason, okay? And that reason, no one can tell you. You have to find out for yourself what that reason is. And it's not a mental thing. It's a deep-seated resonance knowing thing, okay? So connecting with that first dimension is really super essential for claiming your sovereignty on this planet and for claiming your individuation on this planet. As you can, and to connect with that, as I'm speaking, you can simply start bringing your awareness to the perineum. For ladies, you can start doing some Kegels to start bringing the electricity in your body down lower in the body to the perineum. So as you pulse the perineum, you're changing the dynamics of the electricity and the electromagnetics and the attention that where your awareness is to that area. And then if you'll notice, after 3 or 4 breaths of doing that, you'll notice that your body is having a physiological response by you simply just shifting your awareness to that part of your body. Okay, so the lenses to these dimensions are all within the physicality, and they all have an impact to how you be. Okay, this one is a very, very obvious one for many. All right, and then we have the telluric realm. And that telluric realm is all the atoms and molecules that have come together to create cells, tissues, systems, organs, and systems within this body, but also the earth. And the other thing that happens here is through sympathetic resonance, everything that's happening under the crust of the earth in the telluric realm is also happening right here within the physical body. Okay. If you want to tune in to inner earth, or if you want to tune in to the frequency of, different underground cities or whatever, you can simply tune in to the telluric aspect of your own body that has a sympathetic resonance with that level of existence. If I want to tune into these plants that are here in the corner, I don't connect with my mind. My mind sees them as something separate, right? My eyes see them as something far away. My imagination is like, I don't know, how would I talk to this plant? Like, what would I say? You know what I mean? There's all this reeling in the mental field. But if I silence myself and I go within and I start connecting with, say, the different phyto molecules within my body, and start really letting myself sink into the resonance, into the vibration, into the rhythm of those phyto molecules, I can become instantly in resonance with this plant. And once that happens, we're now in a fluid communication. The plant presence is in touch with my presence. And in that, a communication will happen. It won't be words. It won't be words. It'll be a knowing. It'll be a sense like that. Because that is how the plant communicates. That's the part of us that overlaps in the same realm. Now, plants communicate in other ways too that perhaps I won't be able to tap into. It depends. I would have to explore it in order to find out. So that telluric lens is a really essential lens for us to really know our connectedness on this planet. All right, and then we have our 3D, which is space. Okay, that 3D is this, there's a space between us. There's a space between me and the microphone. There's a space between me and the plant. There's a space between me and the moon. That's all 3D. All right, and then we have 4D, which is not only time, but it's also collective intelligence. It's that emotion and thoughts and all those invisible things of our subtle body that have an impact on our here and now, but can't be seen. Okay, that's in a gist. It's an actual force that influences our reality that is part of the, like say, rules of reality, but it's invisible. It cannot be looked at with your eyes. You can't touch it with your hands. You know, your senses, you really can't really make contact with it like that unless there's those people that can smell energies or, pick up stuff like this, which a lot of us do in this group. So the 4D is also that canopy that I draw out a lot. Boom, boom, boom in the previous glyph. And this is just showing a relationship here. Then we have our Akashic field, which is the 5D, the lens of the heart space. You can actually, this is your doorway into your infinite nature. So once you can really tune in to the heart space and let yourself be beyond who you think you are, you can step through the threshold into the soul's journey, and for yourself or anybody else that you wish to do that for. So it's through the resonance of that, you'll have access to this. In order to have to get to draw solutions or unravelings from the 5D field, you first have to resonate with the frequency of that within your heart space. And that is how you actually pull that encodement or that resonance through the 5D field and into the here and now. Because remember, all right, I have to make it lower. Reality is a bunch of nesting dolls. Every layer of the nesting doll affects the layer within it, and vice versa. Okay? Everything's permeating. So the to pull things from the upper realms into this realm, it's through resonance. It's through the use of resonant sympathetic resonance that happens. All right, and then we have our light body, which is the map of how your physical body is going to unfold, how this individuation is going to unfold, and how you exit. But it's also your entire life, your entire soul's journey through this Milky Way galaxy and beyond. So the light body has pretty much everything your infinite self wants to experience in its journey of separation. Okay, and you can create really profound healing by working with the light body if you can access it. Not everybody can. And then that 7D is the soul song, the sound of who you are as you emerged out of the all that is. Then the 8D is the all that is, the perception of all that is. People might call that God. But here's the thing. The all that is just is. There are no conditions to it. If you exist, then you're part of the all that is. It doesn't matter how terrible you are, how fragmented you might be, how benevolent, amazing you are, how light, how dark. It does not matter. You are as part of the all that is just as much as the next being over. Okay? So a lot of people will, think God forsaken them or abominations and all that stuff, and that's just a bunch of bullshit that's been woven into some of these nesting dolls. The fact is, it's an all that is presence. It's not good or bad, it just is. Where the individuation comes in, and this is where the exploration of self comes in, is that we start to explore our relationship to what that is. We start developing, say if it's a dark creature, we start developing a relationship of how we know ourselves to be in connection with that creature. And if it's a benevolent one, same thing. It's not good or bad. We want to call it good or bad because of our programming, but when we're stepping outside of that 4D lens and into our infinite self, it's all about exploring our relationship to that being. This being, depending on the kind of relationship we have, we might see as good or bad, right? But that's not actually the truth of who it is. It's just a relationship we have with it, okay? And then we have that 9D, which is the center of the Milky Way galaxy, the Galactic Mind. And the Galactic Mind is the outermost nesting doll here in this particular model. But there's also more that keeps going, 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 going. These 9 are the base 9 that are within the human body. So if you have a human body, you have access to each of these levels. And if you want to explore this more, dear sister Barbara Handcloud did a wonderful book to actually, where she did all the scientific research to back up what the current science has to say that proves the existence of these levels of being. Okay, so with that all mapped out, I'm primed to go on to the ugly part of the projections. So sympathetic resonance. Whoops. Sympathetic resonance is a way to influence this 3D reality. Okay? So if you, I'm going to do the nesting dolls here. So, all right, we have our outer nesting doll, for the sake of argument, is the Milky Way galaxy, the Galactic Mind. Then we have the all that is, next layer in. Then we have the experience of emerging out of the all that is as a frequency, as a tone. Many would refer that in mythology as the soul song, your core tone of who you are as an individuation. And then as you continue down the frequency ladder, that sound begins to create a shape, a form, a light shape. Okay? And that light shape continues. That light shape actually is what formulates what kinds of experiences you're going to have in the soul's journey. So from here, you're going to have, I don't want to make it too complicated, but you can have a gazillion different realities and nesting dolls. All of them a lifetime in the Akasha, recorded within the Akasha, okay? But how many and what kinds of nesting dolls that you have are all organized by what your light body holds, the frequency that your light body holds. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to make it one nesting doll. Okay. And just know that that nesting doll can be many, 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 many lifetimes. They can go for eons, upon eons, upon eons. Okay. All right. And within that nesting doll, you can have many more. But again, I'm going to simplify the 4D nesting doll. And then you have the 3D nesting doll, the 2D, and we have our where we are in here and now. Okay. So through sympathetic resonance, you can be introduced to iconography that has a resonance out here. Okay, let's say something like this. And because it resonates on this level, when you experience it, say here, it's going to, because that sympathetic resonance, it's going to resonate as a truth through all these levels. Okay. Now this particular image has no mirror to it. So it's, so the actual mirror image of it isn't manipulated, but the story of what it is manipulated. Okay, so I won't go into that because I don't want to overload you guys with too much, but just to understand that sympathetic resonance. And when dear sister Joanne's talking about the reversal, there's another video that I did talking about when energies come, when frequencies come from these outer nesting dolls and hit the 4D, which is a polarized field, which means everything gets split into up, down, right, left, good, bad, black, white, male, female. Once it hits that field, that encodement, that knowledge, that consciousness stream will split into two. And what happens is that you'll have a dark and a light. And then that's where we start developing a relationship of good and evil and all that stuff. So what's happening is that there's this replicated reality that's being constructed by technology, and it's so precise in its sympathetic resonance that once it reaches its critical mass, just like that sand painting, that healing sand painting I was telling you about that many indigenous use, they actually, once it reaches that critical mass, then you can start influencing the individual that it is in sympathetic resonance with. Okay, so And this is a technology that has been around for quite some time. I originally was exposed to it by working with a couple clients that, I'm around the globe. The work I do is around the globe. So I had some clients that were, well, we'll just sum it up as expats that, stay away from the U.S., but that's originally where they're from. And I was just unraveling some anomalies that were happening for them in their lives. And I came across this technical thing that was going on that was influencing their dreams. And later on, I came across a woman at a gathering in Albuquerque that thoroughly investigated that same phenomena, but in her own flavor. And she explained it like this, is that what they were doing was they were creating MRIs of people's brain patterns, okay, and creating a holographic 3D replica of their brain patterns, and then they were overlaying other brain patterns, other thought patterns, other emotion patterns onto the holographic replica, and they found that it influenced the person whose brain pattern that was. Isn't that interesting? It started off as just an exploration in a university, but then other people got a hold of that and thought about other ways they could use that technology. It was originally developed to help people who suffer from things like depression and other kinds of disorders, mental emotional disorders, and also some physical stuff as well. But then the technology got hijacked into a different agenda, and they realized just how potent that could be. Now, they also found that it works really well on some people and not on others. Why? Okay, so it's the big why that we need to talk about here. Why does it work on other people and not others? And this comes back to what I was saying in the beginning about the work that we do in the Dreamtime Healing Academy, or Dreamtime Healing Project in the Academy, is that, who we think we are is not who we are. We are not our thoughts. We're an infinite being, okay? So the parts of us that can be influenced by a replica technique like that are the parts of us that buy in to we are our thoughts. We are our feelings. That is your ego driver, okay? Our ego driver believes we are what we think we are and how we feel we are. The more invested you are in your ego driver and who you think you are, the more hijackable you are by this technology, okay? Straight up. Now, when it's actually not that difficult to choose something different, we just need to realize we need to unlearn everything that we've learned because we've been lied to from the moment we've been born, right? And we inherited all of the lies and deceptions, trauma dramas of our parents and our grandparents and them before them. So the programming of humanity goes deep and long. That doesn't mean that it's hopeless. It just means that is how, deeply incepted we start off as, But we're infinite beings, and our soul's purpose, the things that we determine on why we're here out in this nesting doll, trumps our ego driver. It trumps who we think we are. It does. So if it is in your outer nesting doll here that I am going to wake up this lifetime, you're going to do it. It might be hard. It might be a terrible journey because your ego driver is fighting and kicking the entire time. But eventually we reach a place where we train our ego driver to be our ally in the expressing who we really are and knowing who we really are versus an enemy of us expressing and being in touch with who we really are. Okay? Big piece here. All right, I'm going to pause, say hello, darlings. Okay, let me know if you guys have any questions about what I'm talking about. Definitely put them in so I'll pause and make sure I answer them directly. All right, so sympathetic resonance. So this replica that they're talking about that the those little nanobots do within the body, it's a full body. It's not just the brain. It's the full body, which means if you are not claiming autonomy and responsibility of the functions of your body, of your wellness, of your overall well-being, you are susceptible. Okay? If you aren't claiming your well-being in the here and now and doing the things that you know you need to do to be well, then you're not claiming the needs of the body, and other things can come in and influence. Okay? It's the same kind of process when you're talking about entities and intrusive entities and stuff. Same kind of thing. If you're not home, something else is going to come in and take up resonance. Okay? This is a very common event. It's not anything. This isn't a new thought. This is something that's really actually pretty old school, especially in shamanic circles. Okay, so these things have just been ramped up now that technology is involved, and it really freaks people out when you bring the idea of technical intelligence and AI in there, because it feels so foreign, and we're taught that it's an abomination and that it's absolutely dangerous in so many ways. But quite frankly, there are lots of species of beings that are dangerous in many ways, right? Some of them we love dearly, right? We love lions, we love tigers, we love bears. Yeah? It's okay for them to be that way, even though we go into their field when they're hungry, we're going to end up being lunch. For some reason, it's okay in that case. But when we have an agenda of an ET organization infiltrating our government or religion or whatever, and they're dangerous, why all of a sudden is it a different story, right? We are responsible for how we create a relationship to those kinds of structures. The more responsibility we take, the more power we have, okay? Yes, death is a part of the scope. Death is part of the picture. And this is another layer of why it's so advantageous for us to let go of who we think we are and recognize ourselves as that infinite being, because when we do expire out of our biosuit, it's not death at all. It's simply moving on. Okay? Like, there's been many deaths lately, very close to me. Okay? And some people take those deaths and they go deep into their wallow in their victim stories, and they feel so terrible for that person, and they feel this way about that person and that way about that person, because they're in the program. They don't recognize that that person just got liberated from the from the nesting doll that they're in. They have just moved on to another level of their being. Dying is just the beginning. Okay? And it's just the beginning because we don't remember while we are alive, waking in this body, all the faces that we've worn, all the bodies that we have emanated. Okay? We don't remember while we're walking in our world, right? But when we expire out of the biosuit, now we can have access to those memories and recognize, oh, this is just a millisecond in the eons of my journey. Okay? So in that way, it's a beginning. It's the beginning. Now, when the people who have lost their beloveds, there's that grief that happens because now that beloved is not in their world in the same way. You can't hug them. You can't talk to them or touch them or anything like this. And there's a great loss. And that loss is an important thing to have because it's getting us in touch with something else inside that is really difficult for us to allow ourselves to have. Okay, but the more pain we allow ourselves to have and know and not run from, the more potent and powerful we are in reclaiming our autonomy. When you can have your love and your pain at the same time, it's a game changer. Okay, so have your grief, have your pain, and your love at the same time. And hold that beloved in your awareness while you do that. That transformative experience that they just went through actually becomes a tool of liberation for you, a gift of liberation. I'm not saying this is easy because they have to go through all this programming that we have going on, but it is true. Okay. So the more we come comfortable with facing that kind of thing, the more solid we become in our presence. We're not easily scared off. We're not going to abandon ourselves like we have in the past, okay? all those things, we become more potent and more present for and more unshakable. But there's another piece I want to talk about. The other thing about that replicated reality influencing us, and some of you guys may be wondering, is that happening to me? Has that happened to me? Some of you guys know that it's happened to you, okay? And this technology, like I said, isn't new. It's an ancient technology. It's just now we're discovering it, experiencing it on a whole nother level with the coming of AI/TI kinds of stuff. But I guarantee you, every empath in this group has knows what this feels like, okay? And this is what it is. It's like when you come into a conversation or into a group of people or into a room or whatever, and there's a lot of mental emotional energy going on, and say there's a lot of projections going on about who you are. You know, they may know you're not, who knows, but there's a lot of mental emotional energy projecting on you on who you are. And when you come into the room, you'll really be uncomfortable, but then all of a sudden you'll start finding yourself doing and saying things that aren't you. Empaths have definitely had this experience before. Words that come out of your mouth, the role that you play for that crowd, all of a sudden turns into something that's not really you. And you don't know how to stop it. It's just happening. It's not until after you walk away do you feel like, holy crap, what just happened there? Okay? That's what it feels like to be taken over by sympathetic resonance that's not yours. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Crazy stuff indeed, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now that you know what it looks like or what it feels like, or what you can relate to this, you can start to understand how how to apply the 3 keys I'm going to give you for making yourself to reclaim your sovereignty from this sympathetic resonance control systems. Okay. Number 1, and this is one that we work at every second of every day because it's such a huge challenge for a human right now. That is practice cognitive sovereignty. That means you take full responsibility for the kinds of things that capture your attention. Okay? You make sure that you are the one in charge of what has your attention. Okay? And I practiced really terrible cognitive sovereignty this morning because I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why, but because I'm processing stuff. But what happened this morning was I got up, slept in later than I normally do. I'm usually up by 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I slept until like 8, which is really unusual for me. And, I have a lot of correspondence that goes on, right? So because I woke up late, that usual hour or 2, hour and a half that I take in the morning for myself to wake up slow, have some coffee, I just sit and chill, watch the sunrise. I didn't do that because I was late getting up and I felt a little pressured. I allowed myself to feel a little pressured to hop onto my device and start responding to messages. Not a good thing to do for me because I need that time. I need that time in the morning to get myself clear, to reset, to reflect on my dream time, to, do what I normally do for my own sovereignty, for my own, taking control of my choices, that kind of thing. But this morning I didn't do it. So I didn't practice good cognitive sovereignty because I got sucked in to the anti-doom and gloom narratives within like 10 minutes. And that I had to, the momentum of those streams were so strong, I had to put everything down and walk away and find something else to do to pull my energy out of that because it was so strong, that the momentum of it, So being in command, being willing to be in command of where you focus your attention is the number 1 thing, okay, to reclaiming your sovereignty on these levels. Because this manipulation game is highly sophisticated. It knows how to hook you, okay? It's very easy to get hooked. And it's also very easy to leave the doors open to get hooked, okay? So by reclaiming that cognitive sovereignty, you are reclaiming the power of your attention, the power of where you spend your bandwidth, Okay. Now, a lot of us are perhaps confined, or we don't really have the kinds of interactions we normally would have in our lives because of the shenanigans going on. So we're online a lot. Or, you know what I mean? So we quite maybe haven't really developed other things to fill in the spaces where we used to have human interaction. So, maybe you can go on a couple extra walks a day, or, arts and crafts, do some more projects, clean out that basement, do something to redirect your focus to get away from the influence of the digital realm and beyond. Choose not to get into those conversations. And if it's a human that you're with, that, you can also exercise your sovereignty on that level as well. We get baited. We take the bait. And once we do, the cycle's got to go through its cycle, and then we can reclaim ourselves when it's through. To reclaim yourself in the midst of the sometimes that's not always an option. It is when you catch it right away, but if you don't catch it right away, then it's not really an option. All right. And then the other thing, number two thing to do is practice what I call being behind your eyes. Okay. This is when you're behind your eyes, the magnetic field of your biosuit becomes a solidified container. I would say, solidify is not the right word, a consolidated container where your energy will remain safe. So that means actually, instead of the energy going out like this, you're actually pulling it back so it's contained within the biosphere. Most humans are leaning out, and when you're leaning out, there's all kinds of windows and doors open for other energies to come in and influence you, and you're so busy thinking and doing about what you're leaning out about, you don't even notice. We don't notice, it just happens. So you bring yourself back. And here's a test. Here's a test about pulling your energy back. How easily it happens. Stare at something on the wall across the room from you. I mean, when you stare at it, I don't mean like light glaze. I mean, zoom in and see if you can examine every little detail, every little nook and cranny of whatever that is that's across the room from you. Okay? Yep. Just really look at it. Okay. Notice how the body feels while you're looking at it, what's happening in the body. Okay, maybe you stopped breathing. Maybe your breathing is, changed in some way than how it was before. Maybe you just didn't notice at all. Okay, so just notice. Don't make it good, bad, right, or wrong. Just notice. And now you're going to look down. Just take that gaze and look down and let the gaze be soft. Now, who notices that there's still like this energy thing happening right here from where you were just staring? Okay. That is your energy leaking out and being over there with what you're examining. Okay. Anybody? Have anybody want to volunteer their answer? Please do. This kind of exercise works way better when I'm in a live group of people, because usually 3/4 of the crowd totally recognizes like, whoa, yeah, that is. Okay. So it's easy enough so you notice that energy going this way. So now you just notice how that is, and then just touch it with your awareness and give the command to bring it back. It could be an inhalation, drawing the energy back, or however you facilitate that intent. Just draw the energy back and then look down again and notice the change. Okay. Now imagine how you might be oozing out of your eyes when you are in a really intense conversation with somebody, or if you really want something from somebody, or if you're intently staring at your computer screen. You see? Right. So we are trained to give our power away and to lose and to be energy drains. We're trained to do that. So once you're aware that you're doing that, that is the big step to start calling yourself back when you notice it. Notice what the body was doing. Notice how the body was when you were first examining that, all the little details, and then how it is after you've called your energy back. Okay? Big difference. So your body is going to always give you some kind of feedback loop of what's happening with your energy. We just don't necessarily connect the dots the same way. All right, let me go in and see what people are saying. Oh my goodness, I was just trying to figure this out with my daughter. Okay, this was I think another part of the conversation. Yes, must have the get back in the body morning time. Otherwise, I'm sideways the rest of the day. This is Hodai. She's totally, yeah, I know, girl, you're totally a sister on that. Consciously pulling my energy back from devices after use. Yes, that's an important factor because the digital realm is a sphere, is a realm. It's an invisible realm. We don't see it with our eyes, but we definitely interact with it in our energy. So pulling your energy back from the digital realms is a huge, huge shifting, will really shift a lot of things for you, especially if you're in an intense conversation with somebody or really focusing on something. It'll really help you bring you back to the here and now moment. Dear Joanne says, yes, I've learned the difference in personal control in the labs. Thanks. Okay, yeah. So this is some of the stuff that we practice in the lab sometimes, depending on what kind of lab it is. And then dear sister Yvonne says, I'm taking notes. I need all the help I can get. Yeah, we do, don't we? We all do, man. I'm telling you, because we're taught bass backwards. That's just how it is. And I want to let you guys know that the more we connect with this and practice it, the momentum gets going. So it might start off difficult, but it does get a momentum and it becomes a lot easier. And the more you can connect with others who are on the same page with you, the resonance just builds and it becomes super, super natural and second nature to do this kind of stuff. All right. And then I have the last thing, number 3. And you guys already kind of touched on it, and that is reclaim your energy. And when I say reclaim your energy, so there's not just reclaiming your energy this way, it's reclaiming your energy this way. Okay? So here we go. So when we're involved in emotions, say we're upset, we're frustrated, we have anxiety, all this stuff, those emotions are really strong. And in that moment, we really are in that moment of we are what we're feeling. We are that frustration. We are that anxiety. You know what I mean? We are all that. So what happens is that you can't claim yourself when you're in fear and frustration because that's not the truth of who you are. That's just a nesting doll of who you are. That's a nesting doll to your experience. It's not the truth of who you are on an infinite level. So when I'm talking about reclaiming your energy, I'm talking about tuning in to the truth of who you really are, which is that deep interconnectedness, that deep all that is presence, that infinite flow of compassion, okay? All these different pieces, those are all facets to the infinite nature of who you are, okay? And when you can touch that feeling, when you can really embrace that feeling, have it inside of you, it's with that feeling you reclaim yourself. Okay. And if you're in the middle of a interaction, or if like you're coming off of a really intense interaction, when you bring yourself, you have to force it with powerful breathing, powerful exercise, whatever. Because oftentimes when we're super riled up, we really gotta force it. We gotta really powerfully direct our intention and purpose into regathering ourselves, because there's a lot of momentum going out. So you counteract that momentum, get into that center, and once you do, the first thing you want to do is reclaim your mental body with that feeling. So you're tuned in with the infinite feeling inside of you, that core nature. And then with your intention, while dwelling within that core nature, reclaim your mental body. Then reclaim your emotional body, okay? Reclaim your spiritual body. Reclaim any tendrils that you notice of yourself reaching out. Reclaim it. Then you reclaim your blood. Reclaim your bones, your muscles, okay? The waters of your body. Reclaim all of the mitochondria of your body. The mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. That's the part of your cell that keeps the cell vibrant and vital, okay? Reclaim that mitochondria. How we get different diseases is because our cells start replicating things in a distorted way. This is how cancer happens. It's like the cells replicate, but they replicate with distortion, and the energy of the mitochondria gets hijacked to creating something that's not the truth of who you are. That's not the truth of what that cell was meant to be. You see the metaphor there? Okay. So reclaim your mitochondria. Reclaim those brain waves. Reclaim the hologram of all around you and within you. Reclaim it. So first, it's really being in touch with that feeling, and then with that feeling, you're reclaiming your being. And you guys can play with this if you have someone that can play with you energetically. And one of the things that when I do in-person stuff is, just to show good examples on how powerful this claim is that first we'll have somebody, a couple, two people, and we'll have one person push into the energy field of the other, like with intent, push. And that other person with their eyes closed, they'll notice that push, okay? And then we have that person claim their energy field the way they know how to do. And now when that other person tries to push into it, they can't get into it anymore. And the entire time, the person that is doing the exercise, their eyes are closed. They're just going off of what they're feeling, okay? And then not only is that other person, the other person in the exercise, not able to push into their energy field, they'll actually feel this feeling of not wanting to push into their energy field. Right? So there's that receptor, that leader and receptor kind of thing. You need to be a frequency match for it to connect. Okay, so if you have a weak energy field, that means that you have thoughts and beliefs that validate the weak energy field. You think you're a victim, or you think that you get overran a lot, like you feel like your boundaries aren't good, all that stuff. It's translating into your experience, right? And in that, you're actually attracting more of that experience, right? Through that magnetism. It's so interesting. People, this is a really big eye opener when you experience this kind of exercise in person, if you haven't had it before. So, and I mean, I found it profound that the partner in that exercise actually had that feeling of not wanting to push in their energy. So we experiment with that in many different ways. That's just one of the ways. And maybe you can try it with a partner too. So it's like you have a partner. First, you just have them push in the energy field. You just feel what it's like when that happens, right? And then claim, and then have them try to do it again and see how that is. And then you just reverse the roles, and then the other person, take turns going back and forth. And then you'll recognize just how potent it is to claim yourself, claim your being. No, my energy's not available for that drama story over there, that media story over there, that trigger over here. My energy's not available for it because I claim it for me, for my infinite nature. This is my vehicle, no one else's vehicle. Okay. So just to recap, the three things are to making yourself not vulnerable to these kinds of technologies. It's practice cognitive sovereignty. All right, that's a second by second kind of thing. Practice being behind your eyes, noticing when you're not behind your eyes anymore and bringing yourself back. And then reclaiming your body, your being, your energy. Reclaim it for the true essence of who you are. Reclaim it like that. And that claim you can do in many different ways. You can claim yourself in other dimensions. You can claim timelines. You can claim so many things. So the limit is your imagination when it comes to this reclaiming exercise. There's many people in the group that have explored this in different ways and invented different ways to unravel energy by their reclaim. So I hope that is helpful. All right, let me make sure I'm hitting that very last point. Oh, yeah, encrypting your DNA. Okay, I'm getting there. Okay, so when it comes to encrypting, whoa. When it comes to encrypting your DNA, this is really about permission. Claiming your sovereignty, owning your sovereignty, and not allowing permission. Okay, now that's not the big secret. I'm just saying that I'm just building into why this secret works. Okay, so when we accept another person's reality over our own reality, we are giving permission for their dream to come in and influence us. Okay, now I don't mean dream as a derogatory, oh, you're dreaming. No. And when I'm saying dreaming, I'm talking about these other unseen aspects of who we are, all these outer nesting dolls at play in influencing the here and now moment. Okay. So you have the outer nesting doll, the Milky Way galaxy, the all that is, your soul song, the light body, the akasha, the collective, and so on. All these nesting dolls come together in concert, come together to create your here and now moment. So when you are accepting an outside version. So all those layers, outer levels, I'm calling dream time. When you accept another person's version over your own, you are allowing them to come in and influence you with their own dream time. Okay, this is what religion does. This is what different societies do. Different clubs and groups, that we do this because, it's part of how we think we belong. But that's backwards. Like I said, we've been taught backwards. So the biggest secret to encrypting your own DNA is becoming self-referencing. As in, you don't take someone else's truth for your truth. You know your own truth in relationship to others. You reference yourself when you decide where you're at in your relationship with something. Okay, you discover your own relationship with your infinite nature. You discover your own relationship to who you are beyond your face. You discover your own relationship to AITI. You do not take on someone else's story as your own because you feel like you don't have experience or something. Instead, you remain self-referencing. And in that, you're immune to other projections, other belief systems, stuff like this. Not that you need to make anything wrong, but what self-referencing means is that you know your truth in relationship to what's out here. Does it make sense? All right. Okay, so dear Sister Joanne says, as you speak, I am feeling, experiencing, and recognizing to what degree and at what times, in what instances, I hold my own vibration or not. Greater clarity. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. More thanks. All right, dear Sister Hodai says, in practicing the cognitive sovereignty, any suggestions on discernment between normal energy engagements and having an entity stuck on you? Been pulling them off a lot this past week, cosmic and AI. Yeah. All right, so here's the deal. Oh gosh, I'm going to open up a can of worms, but I'm going to do it, and this might make some folks upset, but hey, So here's the thing. When you're susceptible, right? There's reasons why we're susceptible. Sometimes it's because we're just not home and that energy can come right in. We're not practicing that reclaiming, holding our solid boundaries. But other times what's happening is that these things are coming in because your energy field doesn't recognize that as a foreign frequency. Okay? So in those kinds of situations, discovering an entity can be a very, very eye-opening and empowering process. Okay, because now this is assuming you have good boundaries and there's no holes in your energy, that kind of thing. But there's more, especially with the cosmic, and I'll talk about that. I'll try to get to that if I can get this out in a timely manner. So when an energy can come in, despite your good boundaries, your healthy boundaries, and your reclamation, that's because your energy field's not recognizing it as foreign. That means that frequency is already living inside of you somehow. So that's an opportunity to sink in to something that is unknown within your being, and through that sympathetic resonance, dig it up. So when you're pulling energies off, you also want to make sure you're pulling up the frequency that energy piggybacked on and was able to get in with. Okay, so if you can get in touch with that frequency, that was the frequency match for that entity, and you can actually unravel it from your being. Okay, this takes a lot of focus and discipline. This is an advanced topic that I'm talking about. Okay, so beginners, this might seem really overwhelming, in which case I encourage you to get some coaching and some help on this, because the reactions to good, bad, right, or wrong often hijack us, and we can never be still enough to discover what it is inside of us that allowed this being. We think we know who we are, but the fact is we don't. Okay, we cannot know who we are on an infinite level because we are infinite. All we can do is be present fully with what shows up. So as things show up, it's an opportunity to discover something here. Okay, so if you take that and you rock that, and that is the way that you go about pulling off entities and stuff like this, very quickly that stuff, that interference will leave you the hell alone, because you're going to get stronger and more consolidated, and they don't want that. This other disempowerment agenda doesn't want that. And with AI, it's especially essential, because AI avoids me like the plague, because anytime I have any kind of inkling of something around me or in my field, I don't only just go after what's in here, I completely dissolve the nesting dolls of Dreamtime that manifested that presence to being so. Okay? So AI doesn't want anything to do with, the malicious AI wants nothing to do with me because it's like you can quite literally 86 them out of reality if you are able to work with these outer levels of the dream time. Okay, so eventually you'll be left alone entirely because that's how you roll. There's something else in there I want to say. Oh yeah, and here's the other thing. If you're banishing, in the old paradigm, it works to a point, right? But in the new paradigm, banishing doesn't work because you need to actually unravel why something is there, okay? Because it's there. I'm talking about reclaiming yourself on a multidimensional level. It's there because some part of you dreamt it up and brought it here, okay? And once you're able to address every being, dark, light, whatever, in that kind of way, okay, then it's truly, no matter what's coming to you, it's making you more strong, more powerful, okay? But if things are coming to you and it's like, it's like heavy lifting, a lot of work to get things off, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and you have to do it all the time, there's still a there's still some level of a powerless or victim story happening. Okay, now it's a gift because it can bring you something deeper into something you weren't aware of inside, like that. But until we can look at it in that way, we're going to be doing the heavy lifting. Banishing, shielding, whatever. Okay. But in the new paradigm, more and more and more, those kinds of techniques are becoming not as effective as they used to be. So that kind of freaks people out when they want to stay in a particular bandwidth of reality, because that's their ego driver. That's where they feel they have power. That's where they feel they have some level of control and choice. But we're opening up to who we are, which in these levels our ego driver cannot touch. Our ego driver is not even capable of comprehending these other levels of who we are that's becoming available to us. Okay, so even the powers that be, the control systems that be, aren't able to really imagine just how empowered many of us have become. Okay, when you're no longer afraid of death, when you're no longer controlled by fear, when you're no longer at the whim of the collective story of other people's dreams over your own, you become a formidable force. You become an extremely influential ripple maker in the multidimensional realities of this planet. And I'm so happy to say that there's more and more and more of us every day. So in this way, people, we are unstoppable. We are unstoppable. You may have your up days and your down days and, feel more centered and clear here versus there, which is fine. This is a really complex, messy human experience with some master control mongers, constantly testing your resolve and your sovereignty. So this isn't an easy walk to walk. So definitely, let yourself off the hook on that. But there's more and more of us. So, and I'm going to tie in, dovetail in the very end of this conversation. I didn't get to the cosmic part. Sorry. Let me get to the cosmic, reclaiming yourself in the cosmic part. So every time you unravel entities or whatever, or every time you're in a place of reclaiming yourself, make a conscious effort to close all the windows and doors of where you have energy leakages. Ask to see, ask to notice where that energy leakage is. sometimes you'll have to do a little bit unraveling to call your energy back from that leakage, but call it back and close the door or the window or the hole, whatever, the portal, whatever it looks like. I like windows and doors because that's a pretty easy visualization, to put your intent on. But however it works for you, make that intent to close the window and door so you're no longer draining, so you're no longer available for the next hook to come, okay? So reclaiming that is a major piece, and reclaiming that bridge to who you are in infinite nature, who you are on a cosmic level, who you are on a galactic level, on all these interdimensional levels. Coming in contact with that and placing that intention to reclaim your energy and close those windows and doors is really, really noticeable. Okay, last thing, and this might be a very unpopular thing to say, but I'm gonna let her rip. There is huge judgment happening in the holistic community, lightworker community, about vaccinations, particularly the CV one, right? So, whatever those three experimental biological agents are, whatever they are, who knows? Me personally, I feel like it's not really a necessary thing, but there's a lot of control systems testing people about that. And here's the thing, and this is something that that's important for us to wake up to as sovereign beings. Okay, you do not need to be impacted by this if you don't want to be. And what I mean by that is that if you're in a situation, or if inside, let me phrase it up a different way, if inside of you want to get that injection, there's a reason why that is so. And quite frankly, you are an infinite being having a biosuit experience. So that means you have the power to re-encode, to change the vibration and frequency of that agent that gets injected to you. Okay? Now, this is only going to be for those who this resonates with, right? If you feel like, hell no, I want no part of that agenda, fine. That's totally fine. I don't want a part of it either. But for me, it's more about using my participation as a weapon against others. You know what I mean? For me, there's a different kind of dynamic for me. But I understand that people feel very strongly about this because there's a level of threat that's in here. And I want to wake you guys up to you are in charge of the dream time on all these levels. Okay? If your spirit says, yes, I need to do that, listen to it, because there's something in there for you. You have the ability to recode. You have the ability to change the resonance of what is in that vaccine with your own resonance. Through your own sympathetic resonance, you can recode what that is, even if it's nanotechnology in there. Okay? So I'm just planting the seed for you guys because there's huge judgment going both directions. And I do not want to see the lightworker world fragmented any more than it already is. We need each other. Bottom line. Alrighty. Thank you. All right, so I'm just reading the last comments here. Dear Sister Laurel says, thank you. Better idea of what you mean by self-referencing. Thank you, darling Carrie. Love and light. Thank you, darling. Yeah, call it back and close the doors. Yes. Thank you, Hodai. Cool deal. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out and being a part of the chat. If this chat was meaningful for you and impactful and provided some liberating perspectives, I encourage you guys to share the YouTube version of this chat with your friends. You can share it on whatever platform that will allow YouTube links. I really would love to encourage you to do that and help support this. If you can help support our channel, that'd be great. Go ahead and subscribe and make some comments in the YouTube aspect or in the Facebook, because that also contributes into conversations. And if you really are drawn, if this is resonating with you, what I'm talking about, reclaiming your dream time, I encourage you to check out lightbodyacademy.com. Check out the Dreamtime Healing Project and perhaps join the crew. All right, darlings, thank you again. Love you. Bye.